Hello everybody, my name is Vinny Silva. I'm clinician 2 here at Nexus Youth and Family Services. We're a mental health nonprofit agency located in Jackson, California. So we do on a month-to-month basis wellness workshops as a means to engage with our community and anybody else that may be following us online to bring awareness and equip you guys with different skills as it pertains to mental health. So this month we're going to be talking about supporting blended families and how to kind of build a more cohesive, harmonious home, and also bring a sense of awareness on the importance of supporting blended families in general. And so a content overview that we have is I'm going to go over the definition of blended families, kind of like the increasing percentage of families that are becoming blended, co-parenting dynamics, what are some important protective factors that a blended family should aim for, and of course communication. What's a definition for blended families, right? It's a family unit often formed by a remarriage of one or two partners or both partners, where at least one partner has a child from a previous relationship. And this can include a step parent, a stepchild, or a step sibling, right? So we're creating a new family with different individuals that's not the biological one. And what we're noticing is becoming more and more of a norm. Over 1,300 different step families are coexisting on a day-by-day basis. We're seeing over 50% of families are either remarrying or recoupling, and about 50% of the 60 million children under the age of 13 are currently in a dynamic where they have one biological parent and one step parent, right? Or the parent's current partner, whether that's boyfriend, husband, wife, girlfriend. With that being stated, 66% of those living together or remarried, right? Those relationships that have a child, they end up breaking up. And so that is because of a variety of reasons, and we're going to explore that a little bit. One thing I would like to put out there, though, is that there's also strengths to blended families. I think a lot of people can often focus on the negative. Um, you have an increased support system, right? So away from a Western or American culture, a lot of cultures outside of the U.S. thrive in a basis where the child is connected to their families beyond just their parents, right? The aunties, the uncles, the cousins, and even the overall community is involved in that parent's upbringing, in that child's upbringing, excuse me. So in a way, if we want to reframe, yes, it is a separated family originally biologically, but now the child has an opportunity to have more of a community-based um, support system, right? Now you got up to potentially 3 to 4 different families. That's 3 to 4 different families, 3 or 4 different types of support that you could gain, right? That brings more opportunities for different experiences, more social opportunities. You're exposed to a lot more beyond than just your biological parents, right? And you also learn a little bit on how to, when done in a healthy manner, learn a little bit more about how to communicate and create strong bonds with other individuals, right? Um, and so that brings a sense of strength to that. And at the same time, there is normally a trend amongst healthy blended families where the trend of decreased conflict, it just goes down over time. It takes a little bit of a while, but when there's that rhythm set in stone, the family thrives. Now, some of the challenges, of course, is when the parent has a strained relationship with the biological parent and it kind of, there's no closure. Maybe it's post divorce, right? Post breakup. Maybe it's fresh, new still. Maybe the wounds are still being carried over. Maybe either parent is still speaking ill will about the other parent. And so now that strain is being brought to the new family. And not only is the child receiving that, but the new partner as well. So now you're also dealing with layers of differences because that new partner that wasn't part of the original biological family may bring in a different sense of culture, a different sense of value, and now there's a strain on loyalty for the child. Who am I more loyal to? And I think even the biological parent, right? Am I loyal to the biological partner, the father or mother of my child, or do I embrace this new family as a whole? And who are the priorities that I should take into consideration? And there can be increased conflict more so than in a biological family because of those dynamics. But really, one of the major mistakes that's being done is there's unrealistic expectations set on what this new family could look like. And often the expectations are so unrealistic. It's going to be an amazing experience. This guy or this woman is amazing. You're going to, and we tell the kiddo that they're going to love this new family and all that. And so when there becomes conflict, when conflict arises, now all of a sudden the child is caught off guard, the family's caught off guard, and that resentment kind of builds over time. Another thing that I believe is very important for us to focus on is the various co-parenting dynamics that exist. So there's three different types, right? And so this not only applies to blended families, but just co-parenting in general. We have the cooperative parent co-parenting dynamic. This means regular quality time between both partners. There's a consistent routine in both households. They're sharing information with one another about the child's needs, about the doctor, about their food, about the routine. There's frequent communication regarding the child, and there's a sense of boundary too about what is it that they're communicating about, right? We're not trying to hash up old relationship issues or trying to have a nostalgic moment. Communication is purely on the idea of about the child. There's uniform rules and expectations, meaning those expectations and rules are applicable and are followed through in both households similarly, right? There's not much differences. There's joint decision making whenever there's a big decision about to be made, whether it's with consequences, whether it's with routine, it's done jointly still by the two biological parents. And there's even flexible scheduling and boundaries, right? The parents have an open communication, communicating to one another ahead of time when schedules kind of fluctuate um, to allow better preparation for the transitions for the child. Now, the second type of co-parenting dynamic is a conflicted one. This normally means high consistent clashes, passive aggressive or aggressive communication being done between the two parents, and vengeful rules and expectations, meaning it's done out of spite, right? We're trying to gain brownie points with the child. Maybe we're using the child as some sort of mediator in between ourselves and the other biological parent. And also maybe there's a lack of closure from the previous relationship, and it's just seeping through the new relationships that either biological parent is trying to bring to the table, and now it's affecting the child and the co-parenting dynamic. So it's a vengeful space. It's a space that's not allowing for much harmony. It's still very much individualistic. How can this child and I one up my fellow partner? And or sometimes it could just be um, either the parents have not yet been able to really work through some of the wounds, and that pain is still showing up consistently. And then there's parallel co-parenting dynamic, right? This is more of a formality. There's not much frequent communication being done. Each parent has their own set of rules. When you're with them, you follow their rules. When with me, you follow mine. Separate decision making depending on who is taking over the child. Conferring with one another only when necessary, however that's defined. And there's clear boundaries at transitions, right? Same place, same times, a strict schedule and a strict routine. And so a lot of us, normally those of us in a blended family or in a co-parenting situation, could find us in that parallel, right? There's a sense of we're cordial, but we're not in that harmonious, um, platonic energy that maybe a cooperative co-parenting dynamic could have. Either one of cooperative or parallel could bring success to the family, but it's important to really identify which one is applicable to mine and realizing that's the context that we're dealing with. So I'm just overall guidelines. I'm not saying that all of these protective factors need to be showing up, but this is a nice general direction to see if our blended family is working cohesively and working well together. Are we adjusting to expectations well, right? Either new or refined ones. Um, have we been able to have conversations or even been able to coach our children and our family members through these new family roles that we're having and the impact, right? Because now, if I'm bringing an additional step to other children into the relationship, along with my partner who's bringing hers, right? These children now are creating a new birth order, right? There's a new family role that they're playing. So maybe the oldest is now becoming the middle child with this new dynamic, right? All of this stuff to consider, right? Um, what's the story of the children that are now becoming part of me if we're a blended family, right? What do I need to know about their previous relationship with their dad? In what ways can I step in a way that's supportive, but also I'm not replacing father completely? I'm not trying. That's not my game. My role. Where are they coming from? Where are areas that they trust and distrust? And I think a lot of times in blended families, they rush through that process and they don't identify those key things of the new children that are becoming part of the family. Are we incorporating family traditions? And is this something that's being agreed upon across the board? Even if initially there's resistance, are we still maintaining with those traditions and trying to create that new culture? And emotion coaching is critical that the parents are able to really guide and be the point of reference through those tough times when the blended family is first coming together. If the parent is consistently showing frustration, is consistently projecting onto the new family, right, previous old wounds, the kids and the children see that, and so we're repeating the same thing. So it's a little bit of a burden, but also it's a great opportunity for the parents to really show initiative about how to handle some of those tough emotions when we're transitioning to a new family. So parent communication, these are some step-by-step strategies for parents to consider to improve their communication with their children. Step one is active listening. Now I know everybody says that, right? We've heard this multiple times, especially taking parenting classes, right? But it's actually important that I'm able to summarize and translate the emotion that my child is saying. And I can only do that if my body language, my tone, my expression is creating a safe space for that child to openly say what's on their mind. I'm engaged with my body language. I'm not distracted with a phone. I'm not cooking. I'm not doing other chores. I'm completely present with my child. And I'm trying to obtain information to grasp the full picture about why my child may be feeling what they're feeling. Because even though we may disagree, there's a reason why those certain emotions are coming up in a particular instance. So that leads us to step two. We're listening not only to gather the information about what happened, but also identify and find the feelings for that child. And it's going to be up to the parent to be able to identify and translate that and reflect that child's emotions back. And without being able to identify or find the feelings in my child's perspective, how am I going to be able to relate, right, to my child, my own experiences, right? How can I create that bridge if I'm not able to identify and find that? So we're trying to go beyond just what the statements are being said. So an example would be a child may come up to a parent and say, I'm feeling, extremely frustrated, and dare I even say, I think I really dislike our new family. I hate it. It's nothing like it was from before. The parent could take an initial offense, right, and start going down this rabbit hole of back and forth with the child. But maybe the child's not being able to properly express the frustrations that they're feeling. And so in that moment, we're not going to translate it. I'm hearing my son say that he hates the family, this new family, and he's feeling frustrated with the way things have gone. Okay, son, anything in particular that happened? And maybe there was a disagreement with another teenager in the family. Maybe there's a disagreement with a step parent. And that's where the word hate is coming from. It's really frustration and anger because there is a need that hasn't been met. But if we take that initial offense on the type of words that they're using, we may lose the battle. And then in step three, if we are dealing with a situation where there's consequences, we want to explore discipline through support and connection. As a parent, a child has done many mistakes that I'm sure a lot of us can relate to and have done at some point in time. Can I use my own personal experiences to relate and connect to the child and bridge a moment where they're not alone in that mistake, and also invite the child to be part of the consequences and alternatives. Again, gentle parenting does not mean there is no punishment and there's no accountability, but we're trying to create an environment that does bring discipline and accountability through relationship. It's not just pure power, right? Especially when we're working with teens, because teens are in a stage where they really want a little bit more of independence. You want to lean on that a little bit and have them involved maybe in even their own consequences for them to explore. And all of that requires patience. It requires the parent, I think, to really show up in a way that's consistent and that has the ability to really navigate those challenges without being overwhelmed with their own emotions. And then step four, we follow up. There was tough conversations. There was maybe some consequences that were explored. Maybe there were some things that we didn't recognize that our child was going through, but we didn't leave that as a one-time conversation and try to put it under the rug. And now we're doing trips and trying to be happy-go-lucky. We followed up and we checked in again with our child. And even if the child says, I don't want to talk about it anymore, we're initiating that space consistently, trying to follow up because we're trying to show them that we care. And bringing all of that together, right, now we're creating a stronger, more skilled version of a way to create a relationship, not only with our biological children, but with the stepchildren as well. And I think one statement that's always really caught my attention is that expectations stem from experience. And what I mean by that is all of us lie on this spectrum, on this graph of attachment styles. And if we're part of a blended family, what's an attachment style that my kiddos are these new kiddos are coming in with, particularly post divorce, right? And so what we have here is there's from left to right, low anxiety versus high anxiety. And if we're saying on vertical, we're having low avoidance at the top and high avoidance. So a secure attachment style has lower anxiety and lower avoidance. It's a little bit in the middle. They embrace conflict. And when I say conflict, I don't mean unhealthy ways, but I mean that they embrace what they're feeling, they communicate what they're feeling, and they challenge it head on. And that requires a secure attachment style, right? A preoccupied attachment style lies in between high anxiety and low avoidance. They're constantly trying to bring up situations that are bothering them, but it's coming from a place of high anxiousness. So it creates a sense of discomfort for those around them. A dismissing avoidant has a low anxiety and high avoidance. Their way of dealing with situations is complete withdrawal. I'm not trying to be involved. I'm not trying to talk. Leave me alone, even though they're feeling bothered. And a fearful avoidant has high avoidance and high anxiety. Even though they withdraw, their mind is being constantly preoccupied with the same thoughts as that with a preoccupied attachment style. And so a fearful avoidant is just so scared of the emotional outpour that they could be feeling that instead of bringing it up, like maybe the preoccupied attachment style would, they completely withdraw. And so these are attachment styles to even consider. I highly recommend Dr. Solomon's family role quiz and attachment style quiz. I think she has a beautiful test or a little mini assessment that can really gives us a foundation about where we lie on the spectrum. And this could even help when we're bringing in new family members, right? Where are they coming from? What's their attachment style? What have their experiences molded them into? So here's some resources that I highly recommend for you guys to check out. There's Mental Health America, obviously our own organization here in Jackson, Nexus Youth and Family Services, Psychology Tools that has a step-by-step self-help guide to emotions, the Mental Health Coalition that brings a plethora of resources for all types of families. Our Amador County Behavioral Health also has a lot of resources and parenting classes, the Suicide Crisis Hotline, and the How We Feel phone app. And of course, if you guys would be so kind as to take our survey, one is the demographic, the other is our well-being survey. That would help us collect some data and some overall responses for our wellness workshop. And I really appreciate you guys' time. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until next time.